Eric Sorenson here from Easton's College Baseball Today. We're here with Coach Godwin from East Carolina, coming out to California for a weekend, and we're here at the bat testing lab for Easton, just taking a look around and seeing some of the technology. But Coach, thanks for making some time here to join us here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Sure. If anybody out there likes an underdog story, I guess you'd probably like Coach Godwin. I don't know if you like the idea of an underdog story, since you guys are kind of one of the national powers now, but talk a little bit about, let's go back a ways, a little bit about the influences that you had on your coaching career early on.
Well, I mean, I grew up in Eastern North Carolina, and I often joke, I mean, as growing up as a player in Eastern North Carolina, you really wanted to play in two programs. And one was Lewisburg Junior College, which is a national program which I coached there for 6 years, and the other one was East Carolina. Well, I wasn't good enough to play at either one of them, but I sure coached at both of them.
Okay.
So, but I played at at Atlantic Christian, which is Barton College now, and I had the first 2 years an old coach named Jack Sanford, played in the big leagues, played against Ted Williams.
Okay.
And my last 2 years, I was fortunate to have a guy named Dave Joust, who was a big influence on me. Dave has now been in the big leagues for about 10 years. He's the bench coach with the New York Mets. His son is actually on our team.
Okay.
And what a great baseball man he was. So he influenced my career, and I had the good fortune of coaching with Mike Fox, who is now the head coach at the University of North Carolina at North Carolina Western. I was young, 23, and we won the national championship together. So I've been blessed to be around some very good people, baseball people.
Now, talk a bit about how East Carolina, obviously, over the years of the 2000s, has really upped the ante and raised its level of competition. How close are you to getting to Omaha, if that's a fair question?
Well, it's a fair question. I mean, our guys believe that we're knocking on the door. I mean, we were 2 years ago, we were 4 wins away, losing in the Conway Regional, and we kind of came up with a little slogan. And I'm not a big slogan guy, but it was like 4 more. Last year, we were 2 wins away, certainly losing in a super regional. And our guys really believe that we're on the cusp, and I think that's all that matters is what we believe and what we tell them as coaches and what our players believe.
Now, one of the steps to getting there is obviously you're winning the Conference USA, and last year you guys won it for the first time since Rice joined. How big was that for your program?
Well, that was huge. I mean, Conference USA is such an elite baseball league. I think. I always talk about, you use the term BCS conference,
right.
And they talk about SEC, but BCS has to do with football.
Sure.
I think if there was a BCS baseball league, Conference USA certainly would be right in there. It's always one of the top 4 or 5 conferences in the country. Rice, Tulane, Southern Miss. I mean, we have such a great league with a great group of head coaches. It's really amazing the level of competition. That there's not a weekend off in Conference USA.
Right. I actually have referred to it as a BCS or a Big Six conference in baseball, because it is, even though, like I said, you guys are still kind of an underdog story, but playing in a major conference. Just touch a little bit on, you did a little bit on the ultimate goal of the program. What would you like to see East Carolina do under your tenure? I
mean, certainly our goal is to get to Omaha, and there is no doubt. But there's a process, and I warn our guys that you just can't. It's like a distance runner that's running and he sees the finish line 2 miles out, but he doesn't bother to look down. He'll stumble over some obstacles. We're going to stumble some, but we got to constantly keep looking down and realizing there are obstacles ahead of us, and then look up and see what the finish line is. And our finish line is Omaha, and we believe we can do that. And I mean, we've proven that we're close,
right?
And our recruiting is going really good, and so we're really excited about where the program's going. And we have such great administrative support with Terry Holland and being our athletic director. And baseball's big in Green.
Yeah, and you can tell, I've been out to the stadium before, you can tell from the new stadium, I say new, it's about 4 or 5 years old now, but that's a rocking place, great place to go to a game.
Well, yeah, it is. And this year, I mean, for the first time, we opened with Virginia at home. It was really special. We had 2 5,000+ crowds for the first time. And we always have those crowds sometime against our in-state rivals, but for the first time, a lot of that might be football mentality. But because everybody wants to beat your North Carolinas, your NC States, but for the first time, I felt like that was just because there were 2 great baseball programs. that were playing that we didn't really have a rivalry or a history with, but it was two programs that were ranked very high coming into the preseason, and people wanted to come out and watch good baseball.
And I think if Malcolm told me once that the 5,000 plus that's over the fire marshals, well, we won't get into that. Nonetheless, good crowds there at East Carolina.
Hey, pack them in. I don't care about it.
That's right. We'll talk about that stuff later. Let's touch on this year's team. First off, how big was it to get Kyle Roller back for his senior year this year?
Well, that was huge. I mean, you know, Kyle is such we've seen him grow so much as a person and a player in our program. And, you know, being drafted last year by Oakland, we knew he went late. Kyle had a number in mind that it was going to take for him to sign. But, you know, and then I guess I was really never worried because he went late. And then, you know, he was going to stick to his number. But, you know, when he went up in the Cape and started doing the things he did in the Cape, which is the premier
the
summer league in the country, I was really impressed. Not that I doubted he could do it, but to win the MVP up there in the playoffs, the whole league, be the starting first baseman for the All-Star team. I mean, it was big to get him back because he's such a presence in our lineup and such a great leader with our team.
Now, talk a little bit about your pitching beyond Seth Manis and Brad Mincy. Do you think you have the depth to take you to that next step this year?
Well, I do. It's the best pitching staff we've had at East Carolina. I mean, Kevin Brandt now has stepped up. Who had we've had two freshman All-American back-to-back years with Manis and Brandt. And then we got a really great outing out of Zach Woods last week. Was a junior college transfer from Lewisburg, which is ironic where I used to coach.
There you go.
If I don't get him out of there, we got trouble. But you know, so I do. I really like it. We're good at the back end with Seth Simmons. You know, who was a stopper of the year. Was had 9 saves for us last year. Michael Wright's a guy who's emerged, a big right-hander that can be in the low 90s. So I really feel good about the depth. We've got some young guys we're really excited about. So as this season continues to mature, it's really important that we build that depth, and I think that's yet to be seen.
You guys had a great recruiting class, obviously that is coming in this year too. That should help. Talk a little bit about, now one of the things I love about your team this year is, or about you being able to get Virginia and South Carolina the first 2 weekends. All right, who'd you pay off, or what guru did you pray to? Because how did you get those two big schools to come to East Carolina to open the season?
Well, it actually, you know, when we first did the schedule, we scheduled so far out. When Coach Tanner called me several years ago, he wanted us to come down and open the new stadium at South Carolina, and we agreed to it. He wanted a good opponent to come in. They were a year behind. It didn't happen. We still played in the old Sarge Fry, but I told him, I said, Coach, he was going to give us a guarantee. I said, Coach, we don't take guarantees. I'll be glad to come. Just tell me when you're coming back to Greenville. So he said, sure, can we skip a year? So we put that on the docket. And then last year with the college baseball and the season, they added the week, if you remember. And Brian O'Connor and I had been having conversations about a midweek series during spring break, like a 2-game series, because we're great programs, but we are 4 hours away from each other. So when they added the week, we kind of quickly called each other and said, hey, you know, let's do it. And I said, look, we're going out west to California. If you can come here next year. So then I look back and I said, whoa, I got Virginia and South Carolina opening up. What are you thinking? But you know what? When I recruit our kids, I tell our kids about Conference USA, the schedule we're going to play, and talking about putting them on a national stage. And that's what our players deserve in East Carolina.
Lastly, let's bring up the fan base. All right, East Carolina Pirate fans, best fans in college baseball or the best fans in baseball? What do you think?
Well, I think they're great fans. You know, I've had the good fortune of going to some pretty special venues in our league with Tulane, and of course I'm going to be biased, but we sell 1,800 season tickets. They come out in full force. I'm going to say they're the best fans in baseball, of course.
There you go. All right.
But they're really special, and you know, for a small community, college town like Greenville, to have the fan base that we have is really special for me and our players.
Going to LeClaire Stadium was one of the highlights, actually, of my college baseball writing career. I had a great time there. I look to get out there again later this year. Good experience. Coach, thanks for joining us here at Easton. We really appreciate it.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
You got it.